Hey guys, welcome to the Work the Web interview series where I shine the light on different strategies that you can use to help grow your business online in a way that makes sense for you. So there isn't really like a right way per se to take advantage of the online world. So I'm interviewing 11 experts that focus on one thing, and that one thing help them grow their business in ways that they couldn't even imagine. So today I'm here with our special guest, Becca, from the Happy Ever Crafter. And we are going to be talking all about how she utilized her free challenge, Show Me Your Drills, to help her grow her business online. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself quick in case you're new around here. I'm Mariah, a website strategist over at mariahmagazine.com, where I work with online business owners to help them get more website traffic and improve their SEO by creating a website strategy that's unique to their business goals and their ideal audience. So Becca, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my business is called the Happy Ever Crafter, and people sometimes just call me that, which is always really weird. Like, hey, are you the Happy Ever Crafter? I'm like, no, I'm just Becca. But anyway, so yeah, my business is the Happy Ever Crafter, and I do and teach modern calligraphy, among other art, but mostly modern calligraphy. And yeah, my shtick is Show Me Your Drills. It's my free course where I teach the basics of calligraphy, and that's pretty much the backbone of my entire business. So I know we're going to get into that, so I won't get too far into it for now. But
Yeah. I'm super excited to dive more into that. So a little bit of just like a background. So I actually created Becca's website. So I got like the firsthand view of kind of how all of this is set up. And I just really wanted to like dive into it because I think that a lot of people can take like some really good things away from how you run your business online. So how did you get started in the online business world?
well, I should say how I got started in the calligraphy world, because that's how I got into the online business. But I took a calligraphy workshop. I had a full-time job. My background is in construction project management and architecture and interior design, and
Super
totally different.
related. Super
Yeah.
related.
And so I was doing that full time, and I just felt like I needed a creative outlet. So I took a 3-hour calligraphy workshop and got absolutely obsessed with it. And then I just kept practicing and practicing. And I decided to make an Instagram account because I was posting pictures of weird calligraphy stuff on my personal account, which I felt like my friends didn't care at all about. And so, yeah, I made an Instagram account called the Happy Ever Crafter.
Did you just like randomly like come up with that?
Actually, I got to give credit to my boyfriend for that one. He came up with the name. I don't remember exactly, like, I don't remember sitting down and having a conversation where I was like brainstorming that name. It just kind of came up. And at the time, I thought that my business, if I was going to turn this into a business or like a side hustle, I thought that I was going to be doing like wedding calligraphy and stuff like that. So it kind of made sense, like the Happy Ever After, but crafts for your
Oh,
wedding, stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it still kind of works, but at the time it made a lot of sense. Like, and it sort of was a pun and a play on words, which is my thing, that went with wedding calligraphy. So anyway, long story short, I started an Instagram account, and I started posting my work, and it just like absolutely blew up. Which I think doesn't happen as often anymore because of the algorithm, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it blew up. And then I started, teaching. Sort of people started asking me to teach in person and then online. And then that's how I got into the online business world. I started learning everything I could about teaching online and running a business online. And it has all kind of opened up a million new avenues for me. So now I do it full time. And most of what I do is online.
That's really awesome. So it's like you kind of found something that you were super passionate about, and then you're like, oh, I can totally teach this online. So that came as like an after the fact type thing, when usually I feel like a lot of people are like, I'm going to make a business online. And then they like kind of try to figure out how to make money online. So it's like you focus on that other aspect first and then integrated yourself online so that you could reach more people, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
And I know that like we're probably going to get into how I grew Show Me Your Drills, but that's a huge, like that's a recurring theme, I think, in everything that I've done. Is it's not about like, I want to start a business, what should I do a business on? Or like, I want to start a challenge, what kind of challenge should I do? It's like, where, first of all, how do I start a business was more of what am I passionate about? And like, what do I just want to do anyway?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
how
for
do I
sure.
start a challenge? In the challenge portion was like, where is there a need and how can I fill it? It wasn't like, what can I do to grow my business with a challenge, you know?
That's so important, especially in like the business world in general, is like being able to find these pain points for your clients and essentially solve their problems. So, I mean, that's awesome. How long have you been in business?
It was November 2015, I think, that I started my Instagram account. So, I mean, that wasn't
That's like
necessarily,
not that long ago. I feel like to be able to grow an Instagram account like that, it was like what, like a year that essentially like you like blew up.
yeah, well, so I made the Instagram account in November 2015. And I think within about a year, I had grown it to the point where I knew it was going to turn into a business. But when I started I mean, there was a good like 6 months that I was just posting crappy pictures of my calligraphy and I wasn't trying to make anything of it, you know?
Yeah, 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 for sure. Has it always been like smooth sailing for your business, or did you run into like hiccups, problems, growing pains, either like when you were first starting out or like as you're continuing to grow?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has a business, especially an online business, that doesn't constantly have growing pains. Like, I think it's just the nature of being an entrepreneur. There's never going to be smooth sailing.
And
It's like kind of depressing, but
as soon as you think that you figure something out, you're like super stoked about it. You're like, whoa, I totally just solved this problem. And then you like check your inbox and you're like, oh, sup, another one coming at me.
yeah, or in my case, it's like you think you started growing a really good Instagram account and then they change the algorithm.
So then it's like, and then you have to dive into like Instagram marketing, which is like content marketing, which is like a whole other aspect of online business that can get super overwhelming. It's like, so you're really good at something, you're really passionate about it, you want to bring it to the world. And then it's like, I know that this can help people, but how do I use social media in order to grow my business in a way that isn't going to stress you out too? Because it can be super overwhelming as the online business owner.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of balance with the social media thing. I know a lot of people in my situation specifically with that many followers, a lot of like my friends in real life or people who know me in real life, they just assume that, you know, you get all these followers and then all of a sudden you have a business and you make money. Um, but it's kind of like
It's
having
supposed to happen like
two,
clockwork.
yeah, but it's kind of like two jobs. It's like managing the social media part of it and then also making a business out of it is like you said, it's the social media thing can be really stressful. And especially when it's such a huge part of your business. Like my business is social media. That's really the long story short of it. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's an extra added piece that most people in their regular jobs
Like,
don't have to deal with.
yeah, I feel like especially being an online business owner, we have this online ecosystem. So it's like you have your website that like when people are really interested in you, that's how they learn more about you, learn how to pay you, learn how you solve their problems. But it's like before they even get to their website, it's like you have to funnel them through social media. Like that's how they find you usually. So it's like these two pieces that kind of like work well together. And if one of them is off balance, then you're really going to lose that momentum that you're building.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so the idea for Show Me Your Drill. So I know you said that like you were solving people's problems essentially. Like how did you choose Show Me Your Drills, or like the format that you chose, or you know all of the good stuff behind there?
So when I started learning calligraphy, I noticed that, and at the time, there were not as many people putting their calligraphy or teaching calligraphy online as there are now. There's a lot now. And I noticed this theme where a lot of people who
Probably
would
like a
come on
lot of your students, right? I feel like your students like post Instagram and calligraphy and stuff like that. So that's cool.
yeah. Yeah. So I remember at the time, so I had taken this 3-hour workshop, and it was a really great workshop where she actually taught us the basics really well. And I think that having that foundation for me is what set me up for success. And I knew exactly what to practice, and I knew, the foundations of it. Whereas I think a lot of people just go onto Instagram, see someone Insta famous who's doing this brush modern calligraphy, and they think, oh, okay, I just have to get a brush pen and I'll be good at it. Or there were people that were teaching their own style of the alphabet, but not actually teaching the foundations. And I think, there's a lot of parallels with this for kind of any industry, where if you don't learn the basics, you can't, it's like learning to run before you learn to walk, right?
Yep.
So I was noticing that trend on Instagram and getting really frustrated, because I get a lot of students in my online or in my in-person workshops telling me, oh, I've been trying to learn and I can't figure it out and blah, blah, blah. And within like an hour in my in-person workshop, once I taught them the drills, which are like the basics of calligraphy, it was like this light bulb moment went off, and they understood how it all came together. And it was so much easier at that point. So I was like, how can I translate this to an online format where people can easily learn the basics and understand that they've been missing a step that whole time? And so I decided to just the first time I ever ran the challenge was like super basic, because like I said, I had no idea what I was doing with online marketing or trying to build a business. At the time, it was just like, I just genuinely wanted to help people learn these basics.
Yeah.
I posted a picture on Instagram with a prompt. That was just like, I'm going to do these basic strokes every day for the next month. If you want to do it with me, like, here's the prompt, just do your own and like follow along with me. And it was literally just an Instagram challenge. And at the time, I think I had like 1,000 followers or something. So yeah, that's how the idea for it came. And then after I did that first one, I forgot about it for like a year. And then about a year later, I kept seeing that this was still a problem. So I decided, and this was about a year after I had learned a little more about marketing and having an online business. And so I decided to make it a real thing and do it properly with a website and an email list and all of the more complicated stuff that I had to learn.
All of the super fun aspects to growing an online business.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So essentially you were like testing and tweaking as you were going. It's like you tested the idea with your in-person workshop attendees, and then you brought it online. You weren't worried about any of like the how to do it perfectly, how to do it the right way. You were kind of just like, listen, I know that there's a problem here. Let's see if this solves it. Let's see if people are interested, before you went in and like started learning all of like the ways to make it better, essentially.
Yeah. And I think anybody who listens to any online marketing advice, that's kind of what they tell you to do, right? Like pre-validate your idea, know that there's a need for it before you put all this effort into it. And like, I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but it makes total sense that I was like, I just made sure that people would actually like it and then continued to make it better.
Yeah. And I think that that's super important, especially because like with some of my clients, they get super passionate about it. And they're like, I know that people need this. And so I need to make it perfect so that as soon as people see it, they pay me for it. And I think that they get so overwhelmed in that aspect of it that they forget about testing and validating. But like as humans, if we take a step back and like realize, I don't know, how all of our best ideas come to light, or like if we put ourselves in the customer's shoes and like look at things from a different point of view, we can see that it's really obvious. Like people get super stoked to be in like a beta round or to be testers of something. And then like we love giving our feedback. We love giving our opinions, essentially. So it's like if people test and validate and we can be those people to help them, I feel like that's also a really good way to build like an authentic following, an audience, a fan base, is like allowing them into that testing process instead of just like pushing it out when we think that it's perfect.
Yeah, well, and that's all really great. But what you said at the start was that a lot of your clients are trying to think of like, what will somebody pay me for?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also interesting to note that at the time when I made Show Me Your Drills, like I had no plan to ever make any money off of it. Like it was literally just to solve a pain point. And there was never, like when I started it, there was never anything in the back of my mind that was like, how can I turn this into something that'll make money later? So I think I know that's really hard to do, but I think if you can get yourself to forget about how it'll make money and just do something that will get your name on the map and like help you put yourself in front of people and actually genuinely help people, it sets you up so much better than even pre-validating or any of that crap could do.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's super important. And like, passion drives you when you're not making money. And in the beginning, you're not going to be making money. So it's like you have to find something that you're going to be passionate about and keep spinning your wheels and trying to make it better. And like, it's like that underlying motivation when a monetary value isn't a thing yet. And that's super important, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about running the free challenge?
I mean, all of it is awesome. Like I said, it's like the backbone of my business. So it obviously allowed me to quit my job and take this full time. That's a story for another day, or maybe we can get into it after. But it it allowed me to take this full time. It obviously pays my bills. So I'm happy about that. But the coolest part for me, outside of anything business related, is the community that it's sort of created, which I didn't expect. But it's been the biggest, most rewarding payoff ever. Like, all the people who have learned calligraphy through Show Me Your Drills are like, you know, people know each other. People understand that, you know, oh, you learned with the Happy Ever Crafter, you took Show Me Your Drills. Like, oh, we must be similar. They're all in a Facebook group together.
You have like your own like your little squad over there.
The Happy Ever Crafters.
Yeah, that's right.
But last year I also went on a long-term trip, and like across the world. And so every place that I stopped, I would do a meetup and meet with all these people who had taken my courses, and like they knew each other. Like, they had little communities within their cities all across the world. Like, it was
all
just
over the world.
so cool.
That's amazing. Seriously, to be able to bring people together all across the world, essentially to be creative, to find a creative outlet for them that they really, really enjoy. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like I
that's
was going to
definitely
ask
my
something
favorite.
else, and then my brain like went completely blank. I was just like, wow. And then I started thinking about like all these little groups of humans that you get to meet up with. So your engagement on Instagram, I know this is a little bit more business related than that, but it's like, it's so obvious to me as a follower of yours on Instagram that you have this big, tight knit community because people are constantly engaging with you. And I think it's because like you started so authentically that it's just like your personality is great and people connect with that. And then you broke it down in a way that makes sense. And then people are just super stoked about what you're doing. And it's like super obvious on social media too.
I think that also comes down to, like, you say they engage with me, but I think I engage with them has been like a huge part of how I've grown this thing too. Like, I remember the first time I ran it, like I said, I think maybe I had 1,000 followers, and maybe 100 of them took part in the course. I have no way of knowing because I just did it on Instagram and didn't actually track anything. But I would wake up every day at 6 and post the thing on Instagram, and then wait for comments, and then follow the hashtag, and then comment on other people's things, and then direct message them and answer their messages, and like really purposefully engage. And that's obviously not something that I can do for absolutely every single post and every single follower anymore. But like, a huge part of me running this online challenge is me dedicating my time to liking posts, commenting on posts, being in the Facebook group, going on live video, answering people's questions, actually being in my inbox and answering things, and not like never putting any of those things on autopilot. Those are always like front and center of what I'm doing.
That is such a powerful like point of view, I think, for people that are running an online business, because like we only see what other people post. We don't get to see that behind the scenes of like you going into your inbox and answering all of these and waking up at 6 a.m. and posting these and just being really, really engaged. But that's such an important part of growing your business online, especially to get like people hyped up about this challenge that you're so passionate about. That's really awesome. That's a really good point of view that I think needs to be a little bit more front and center in the online business world, especially since we see everything so curated and everybody's trying to like spend less time online, you know, for like our mental sanity, like spend less time online scrolling and things like that. But when you're really passionate and you want to grow this business online, it's like you have to put that time aside to really engage with your people. It's huge.
Well, and it's not, I mean, I totally agree with spending less time online and whatever. You just have to be purposeful about when you're doing it, you know? Like, I know that while I'm running my challenge, I'm going to be on social media for like 3 hours a day. So I just don't also go on YouTube and watch cat videos, you know? Like, I'm very purposeful about that time that I'm spending. And then when I'm off, I'm off.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's really important. Okay, so if an online business owner was thinking about offering a free challenge to help grow their business, what's the first thing that they should do you think?
Well, I think I already touched on it in terms of like actually finding a pain point in their industry. So I think a good example, and I mean, it's going to be calligraphy related because everything I do is calligraphy related, but I think
Yeah.
it will make a little more sense to everybody. Is you'll often see people doing like in the art world or the calligraphy world, you'll see like a free challenge on Instagram where one person, like a bigger name on Instagram, will post a prompt that has like a letter or a word for every day. Like it's Harry Potter themed, let's say, for the month of May. And then everybody follows along and letters that word for the whole month of May. That's like a good way to have a challenge and grow a social media following. But that's not a great way to actually build a business, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So like
Yeah.
that's a challenge, and Show Me Your Drills is a challenge, but Show Me Your Drills is more of a free course where I'm actually solving a problem and solving a pain point as opposed to just trying to get people to know me and follow me.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
would say, to answer your question, the first thing to do would be to actually find a pain point and help address it, as opposed to find something that I could sell later or that could get me more followers.
Yeah. That's really important, and especially like the example of the difference that you gave, I think is really helpful too, to be able to see the difference in like just growing your social media or like being more purposeful and growing your business. Since your challenge is totally free for people to join, how do you make your income?
So the free challenge is a month. It's a month long. So you join, and now after all these years of tweaking it and everything, now when you join, you get access to a teachable course. So it's actually like a free course, and you get logged in there. Then you're part of the Facebook group, and you get all my emails and everything like that. And it's completely free for a month. You get a workbook and videos and all that stuff. Essentially structured like a course, but completely free. And then, so like I said, in that whole month, we learn the basics of calligraphy. So literally just the basic strokes you need to understand to build letters. And at the end of that month, I have a series of more advanced workbooks that people can buy. So the first time I ever ran it, I wasn't planning on doing that. But halfway through the challenge and the free month of drills, people were like, "Hey, Becca, like, what's next? How do we build letters now? Can you make us a workbook for that?" And then after we did that one, it was like, okay, but how do I put them into words? Can you make a workbook for that? So over time, it grew to this like 6 workbook series. And now when the challenge is over, people can either buy the bundle of all of the workbooks and we work through one a month, or they can buy them one a month for the next 6 months.
That's really, really awesome. So essentially, just like how you started your business, find the pain point, give the solution.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the first time I ran like the course properly with an email list and all of that stuff, I still thought it was just going to be a free challenge. Wasn't planning on making anything bigger. And then it just turned into like 6 months of me asking people what they wanted next and making it. And then after I had it all made for that first round of people, I perfected it for the next round and just kept making it better.
Testing and tweaking, my favorite part. Okay, so if you could do it all over again, like knowing what you know now, would you do anything differently?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think that the way that I presented it at the beginning and honestly didn't know what I was doing and was very honest about that. Like I had a pain point that people actually needed help with, and they didn't care if my website was perfect or where they were getting the information from, or if my email came like an hour later, or if it landed in their spam folder or whatever. As long as like they knew that I was going to do everything I could to give them the best information, I think that that actually helped me in a huge way, as opposed to having everything perfect right out of the gate, because it built this community of people who knew me and knew where this was all coming from and knew that they could trust me. Whereas now I find that new people coming into the course who haven't been there since day, I mean, there's still a lot of people in there that have been there since day one, which is the coolest thing ever. But a lot of the people coming in now don't know the history of all of this. And now that it's really well put together and really refined, I find I lose a lot more people, because it's like once everything is perfect, if there's one little thing that goes wrong, people are gone. Whereas like if everything's not perfect, but the information's really good, like people are willing to stick around a little longer and see where things are going to go and get to know me and stuff like that. But now it's like they don't see past if there's one little glitch. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, that makes perfect sense. That's super, super interesting, because I mean, for me personally, I haven't built a course. So just being able to like hear that perspective of things, I mean, this whole interview I think is really, really helpful, but like, especially just knowing this behind the scenes information about it, I think is really, really valuable. Because I mean, like, I would have never put that together, not knowing, because I've never built the course, like a course before. So, but like, once you say that, it's like, it makes total sense. I don't know. It makes a lot of sense.
And I've said this to a lot of my friends too, or people who are thinking of making courses and stuff and are getting really worked up about the details and everything. I think what helped me with it and getting past all of that stuff is that the first time and the first month of things is completely free. So if somebody doesn't connect with me or doesn't like the way that this is working, or they're unhappy with the course or whatever it is, I'm like, okay, well, it's free. So if you don't like it, then that's fine. You don't have to carry on. Whereas if somebody is trying to make a course that's right out of the gate going to be $1,000 and they know they have to please everybody, it's a different story. Like it should be perfect at that point, and you really should put a lot of like extra time and effort, understand all the technology beforehand. But as it relates to challenges and growing your audience and solving these pain points for people and stuff, it doesn't have to be perfect. And in fact, what I figured out is that it's better if it's not. In a way.
Yeah. And I feel like that is why a free challenge in the beginning makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. It's like an easier barrier to get over, to like help them work through the problems until they've perfected this, instead of like spending all of this time creating like you said, like $1,000 course, and then being worried that somebody's, not going to see the value in it, or they're going to find these glitches. And then it's like, you feel bad about it because you're like, oh my God, you just gave me this money. And like, I missed that, I missed this. And it's like with the free challenge, you can kind of lower the expectations a little bit and like still focus on solving people's problems.
Yep. Yeah. And just like one note, as we keep talking about this, we both keep calling it a challenge. I also just often will just call it a free course. And I think that might be like another mental block for people. If someone's listening to this and is trying to figure out like, well, what would my free challenge be? It doesn't have to be structured like a challenge. It can just be structured like a course, a free course. It's literally like put in everything that you would put in a normal course that you would sell, but make it free.
Yeah, for sure. And then you also have like, I think I'm going with the word challenge more because you have that Facebook group for like accountability.
Well, I interchange them. I call it Show Me Your Drills Challenge and course, because it is a 30-day challenge, but it is also a free course. So
yeah, for sure. So now it's like more structured like a course, because it probably makes more sense for the people in it too, and for you for setting it up to give everybody like the information. So like visually, it probably looks like a course.
Yep.
Okay. So I know that you mentioned that social media is like really, really big for you. And I know that you spend a lot of time on Instagram and you have a YouTube channel. Can you highlight one thing that you do on either of those platforms that really helps your business grow?
Well, the biggest one I would say we already talked about is the engagement thing. Like don't just post something and ask a question to get engagement and then not actually engage back. And I know that people are probably listening to this going, well, that's not scalable. And like, for sure, it's not. I can't ever answer all of the comments and all of the questions or like all the pictures in the Show Me Your Drills hashtag. But like I said, I dedicate time to purposely do that. And I think that that's going to get more and more important as, again, algorithm changes, or just like more and more people start to have online businesses and online courses, and there's so much more demand for your attention. I think the people who engage and are real on there are actually going to start to do a lot better. And then the other thing would be consistency, just like being really purposeful about actually posting consistently, letting people know what they can expect from you. If you say you're going to post something, actually post it, and just showing up. It's hard to do on Instagram because you're not actually telling people I'm going to post every day, but like in your head, you should know I'm going to post this many times a week or this many times a day or whatever it is for your strategy, and actually do it.
And especially like with the algorithm, it's like people can't even see if you're posting every day. Like I get things on my feed that have been posted 4 days ago, but I remember when it was like more, what is it? Chronological?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can't even think of words. When it was more like chronological, you would take note of the people that were posting, like, and you kind of expected it at a certain time every day, which was really nice about, how the feed was set up that way. But even so, I think just showing up in the feed or the Instagram stories, like that's huge too, is when people know that you post an Instagram story, let's say once a day or a few times a week, it's like they kind of start to like look for yours, and then you essentially end up showing up first in like their Instagram story feed. So I think that that's really important too.
And then when they click on your story a lot, your posts show up more on their feed too. So
I don't even think that I paid attention to that. That's really helpful. Okay, so I know that you have the Show Me Your Drills and you focus more on calligraphy. You don't have any like resources or recommendations for anybody to maybe get started with the free challenge or doing a free course, or have you seen anything like resource-wise that you've used to kind of help you?
Not necessarily in the sense of like a course about starting a challenge or like anything specific to that, but just honestly, any podcasts, books, blogs, Instagram accounts, whatever it is, Twitter accounts that talk about online marketing are going to be helpful no matter what. Like just hearing different perspectives. When I was still working at my full-time job and thinking about taking this full-time, I listened to a podcast on the way to work. I listened to it at my desk. I listened to them on my way home. All the time I was listening to business podcasts and then reading business books and all of that kind of stuff. So if I had to narrow it down to one person whose work or like advice has made the most impact on me, I'd say Seth Godin.
Okay.
Do you listen to him?
I don't listen to the podcast, but I have heard his name thrown around quite a few times. I know that he's like real big in the online world.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the original gangster of online marketing and just marketing in general. But one of his books specifically, if someone's looking to start a community or like a gathering of people around a certain topic, like I did with Show Me Your Drills, would be Tribes. So Tribes by Seth Godin, big game changer for me, or anything by him really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I will definitely link to, that resource or his website in the blog post that's going to be attached to this video. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to leave the links to that. But I just want to thank Becca for coming on here and answering all of my questions about the free challenge or course, and, talking more about how it helped her business. And I think that she gave us some really, really awesome perspectives. So can you give people just a little bit more information of, like how to connect with you, how people can find you online?
Well, the best place to find me would be Instagram. It's my biggest platform. So at the Happy Ever Crafter, make sure that the is in there. And my website is thehappyevercrafter.com. And then if you actually want to learn calligraphy, you can go to showmeyourdrills.com, or if you just want to see how my challenge works.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll totally link to those too. So thank you, Becca. And Bye, guys. I will see you later in the next video.